We are now recording. All right, first thing we're going to do today is the syllabus. And before we get into this, I'll mark. Name, please? Yasmin, I thought so. Moore, right? Okay. And you go by Yasmin? Okay. And do you say Yasmin or Jasmine? Yasmin. With a Y sound or a J sound? J sound, Jasmine. Okay. I don't hear well, so that's why I have to ask. Okay. Now, we'll go over the syllabus, but before we start, and I can see some of you have already noted, this is not even current, is it? In fact, before too long, well, I still don't know my schedule, okay? I don't know what, my Tuesday, Thursdays are set, pretty close, okay? My Mondays and Wednesdays, I don't have a clue, have a little clue, but that's about all. So I couldn't do your update the office hours because I don't know what they're going to be yet, and I didn't have a chance. Since we lost Friday completely and lost 2 hours yesterday, I didn't have any chance to update the syllabi. So I'll get these done maybe by Friday, hopefully sometime next week, sometime they'll get done. But I'll make the corrections now, so when you do see this on YouTube, if you need to or want to, you can hear what the corrections are even though you don't see them. When I get them corrected, I'll put them on Blackboard, okay? Now, on Blackboard, let's go over that first. You know, when you go to the class on Blackboard, you know, the homepage there is a block here of tabs, okay? I think the first tab says homepage or something like that, and then there's several under that. Near the top, like 2 or 3, somewhere in there, at least on the instructor side. See, I never see the student side, so I'm just assuming it's about the same. There's one called content. That's where I'm going to put everything, okay? When I get the corrections done to the syllabus, I'll put the syllabus under content. When I get the research paper instructions corrected, I'll put that under content. I'll put my locator card as soon as I know what classes I'm going to be teaching when and that kind of stuff. I'll put that on under content. I'll also put every PowerPoint that we could possibly use in this course under content. I'll also put there websites that students have given me or that I have found that you might find, the students said they found them useful, so I'll put them out there. So if you found them useful, you can use those, you know, things like Khan Academy or that kind of stuff, okay? And then I'll also have the link to the playlist on YouTube where we'll be putting this. That's not set up yet, so you won't find it there yet, but as soon as I get the link established, I'll copy the courses to that, okay? Now, so this is spring 2017. And I'll set it up for mini-term 1. The reason is, second mini-term, I go from Physical Science 111 to Physical Science 112. It starts at a different time, so it ends at a different time, so it'll adjust my office hours. So this will be, what I'll explain to you will be the first mini-term. I may tell you what I think the second mini-term will be too, I promise you. Okay. It is Math 113, Pre-Calculus Trig, 3-credit hour course. We meet Tuesday, Thursday, 9:30 to 10:45 in this campus, in this building, in this room. So all that is correct. And, in fact, my name hasn't changed much. So my name is Charles Fowler. My contact policy. Okay, this is strange but true. You can come by my office anytime during office hours, and I'll tell you approximately what they are. Not exact, because I don't know. And let me get your name, please.
Jasmine.
Huh?
Jasmine.
Jasmine? Okay. Another Jasmine. I knew it was going to happen. Okay. I take it you're Jasmine Nobles? Okay. And you go by Jasmine?
Yes.
Okay. You would do that, wouldn't you? Okay. And you're right next to each other in the alphabet, too. Moore and Nobles. Okay. So did it on purpose, I know. Okay. My name's Charles Fowler, by the way. And that's what we're doing. So you can come by my office anytime during office hours. I don't know what they are yet, but I'll give you my first guess of approximation. But before I do that, Monday through Thursday, I'm here on the Bessemer campus, A265. Now, where is A265? Well, we're right here in the corner classroom now. If you go out this door, okay, take a look. almost to the end of the, don't run into the wall. Before you run into the wall, there's a stairwell on the left. And just before that is an office. That's 265. That's my office. Right next to the mechanical room like this. Okay? See, there's this mechanical room. There's one there too. So my office is right there, 265. It's across from the orientation classroom. So you know where that is. Okay? So that's where I am on this campus. Now, most Fridays, not all Fridays, but most Fridays I'll be on the Birmingham campus. Like last Friday I wasn't. I would have been here, but then we did. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Happy New Year. All right. But I have to test it first. Okay. On the Birmingham campus, most Fridays, in the academic building, are y'all familiar enough with the Birmingham campus, know what that is? B122. Now, if you don't know what room that is, ask anybody where Dr. Pruitt's office is. I'm in his suite. I'm not in his office, but I'm in his suite of offices. You know, when you go into his suite of offices, Ms. Saxon's desk is right there in front. There's a room right behind her that has the copier and a table and stuff like that. That's where I go on Fridays. Now, so that's B122 most Fridays. I'll tell you any Friday I'm not going to be there. Now, my phone on the Bessemer campus is 929-3449. It says leave a voice message if I do not answer. I'm going to take that out, okay? Because right now I am so stinking far behind in voice messages, I don't know which decade I'm ever going to catch up, okay? So there's not much use in leaving me a voice message. And the system has been wacko too. There were phone lines out. People were trying to call me. They couldn't get me. I couldn't call out. It's been strange lately, but it's, so don't. Here's what I suggest when you call. Check and see what my office hours are and call during my office hours. Best chance to get me in the office is during office hours. If I'm in class, I'll never hear the phone. It's way down at the end of the hall. Never hear it. And then when I'll ever get to check voice messages, I don't know. Okay, now, also, right at the end of last term, they decided to change the phone number in this room, okay? They had set it up so my phone rang in either office, here or there. But they have assigned a grant person, who's a part-time person, that office as well, so they had to give her own phone number, okay? So when on Fridays, I've got to find out what that phone number is, and I'll give that to you as soon as I figure out what it is, probably this Friday before I'll know it. Okay, so forget about leaving a voice message. Call during office hours. Now, if I don't answer during office hours, hang up and call back in 5 or 10 minutes, because more than likely I'm just out in the hall, whatever. Okay, now, email. cfowler@lawsonstate.edu. By the way, most employees of the college, that's our email. First initial, last name @lawsonstate.edu. There are a few exceptions, like Ms. Sharon Williams down in financial aid. There was also a Selena Williams on the Birmingham campus, so they couldn't both be S. Williams. So our Ms. Williams is S.D. Williams. This new hire here, Cicely Martin. There was already a Candace Martin. So she is C.B. Martin or something like that. Occasionally there will be some that have the middle initial as well. But there are a few other people that have chosen different names, like Mr. Blank on his name now. Oh, okay, Donnell Perry. Donnell Perry, who teaches graphics here. He chose to do Don Perry, not D. Perry. Okay, so he did Don Perry. And then Mr. Calvin King, he did Calvin underline King. He chose not to have just K. King. He wanted his own. So a few people have done that. A few people have two initials because they have similar last names, or same last name. But most of us the first initial last name. Okay. Now, about emails. Ever since registration began, I've had a few microseconds to be on email. I mean, I have been registering students, canceling classes, doing all this kind of stuff. So I'm way behind on email too. Hopefully it'll be less than a decade before I get those answered. So try to email me. That's pretty good. Phone during office hours, email me. Sometime or another I'll get back in touch with you. Okay. My office hours, I'll give you my best shot now. Okay. Right now I'm scheduled for an 8 o'clock class and a 9:30 class on Monday, Wednesday. And the 9:30 class is a calculus class. It goes until 11:10, not 10:45. So it's a 4-hour course. Now, I don't know if either or both of those classes are going to make. They're low numbers now, but if they need it to graduate, I'll probably teach them those for free. So I can't tell you for sure. But I do know I get through at 11:15 or back in the office by 11:15, and I believe I'm there until 12. Okay? No, I think 12:30. In fact, 11:15. No, wait. Monday with 12. 11:15 to 12. I'm going to try to eat lunch then. I usually bring my lunch. I do it eat it in the office, so you can come by then, but you might talk like this. But anyway, I'll be there from then. Then at 12 o'clock, I have another class, and I don't even remember which one that is, but I have 2 classes back to back after that, and they go until something about 3:10 or 3:20. I think they go to 3:20 or something like that. And after that, I'm free. On my schedule now is 2 physics classes starting at 3:30, but those are going to go to Dr. Bryant because neither one of them are enough to make a class, so we're going to stack those. So he's going to pick up there. So from 3:30 on, usually I'm here until 4:45 or 5:15. I'll just have to see how the hours add up to give me enough hours. Can I get your name, please? Okay. And you go by Aaliyah? Okay. Good deal. Welcome to the class. Okay. Filling up now. That's good. I was just explaining I don't know my office hours yet because I don't know which classes are going to make or not make. But I'm usually here on Monday and Wednesday from 3:30 until about 4:45 or 5:15. Like today, well, Monday and Wednesday. I'll find out and put it on there. Tuesday and Thursday, okay? This is pretty well set for first mini term. I've got 8 o'clock class, pre-calculus algebra, I just finished. This class, pre-calculus trig, we finish near or after 10:45, right? Okay. And then I'll have office hours then until 12:30 for the first mini term, 10:45 till 12:30. At 12:30, I have my physical science class. It's a mini term science class. That means mini term meaning the class goes 2.5 hours, 12:30 until 3, and then a lab every Tuesday and Thursday from 3 to 5. So basically from 12:30 to 5, I'm not in the office. Okay. So Tuesday, Thursdays are pretty stacked. 8 o'clock, 9:30. So then these are my only office hours, 10:45 until 12:30. Now when second mini term gets here, the second mini term physical science class doesn't start until 1:15. So that then will be a little bit later, 10:45 to 1:15. So you'll have a few more office hours there, but then of course I go later too, whatever that adds up to. What is that, 45 minutes later? Yeah. So it'll be 5:45. Okay, before I'm through on those days. Fridays, usually I don't have any classes. They don't want the carpet chairs to have any classes. So 7:45 to 11:45 on the Birmingham campus most Fridays, with this one, or a few exceptions. Okay? One major one is they love calling meetings on Fridays. Okay? So if they do, maybe, and if I know about it, I'll let you know ahead of time. Okay, I'll be there from 7:45 until 9, but I've got a meeting from 9 to 10 or 10 to whatever. So I'll try to let you know. But that's now. There's one other situation, and this also goes. It's important for this class as well. I wish I had found out before today. I just dawned on me. Either next Tuesday or the following Tuesday, I have a doctor's appointment at 11:20, I believe it is. But I've got to be in there for labs at 10:20. So I have to leave here by 9:45, which is shortly after this class begins. So I'll let you know as soon as I know for sure. It's either next Tuesday or the following Tuesday. So I'll let you know Thursday which one of those it is. Okay, I know I have a doctor's appointment. I'll have to leave shortly. Now, what we'll do is figure out when we can make up the class. Right now, the best looking time for making up the class would be Monday, Wednesday afternoon, say 3:30 or later. Okay, but if none of you can do it, then I'll do it. The next best time would be Tuesday, Thursday. Well, yeah, Tuesday or Thursday, right after this class. Just go another class, and that would be 10:45 until 12. Yeah, that would be right. 10:45 till 12. We could do that if you wanted to. So we'll figure that out as soon as I know what day it is, and we'll try to make up that class. If you can't stay for it or be here for it, I'll record it on Screencast-O-Matic and load it on YouTube so you can follow whatever it is. I'll try to find a time that most of you, the biggest number possible, can be there, and we'll make up that. And Fridays, the reason I said that, I have a mild form of leukemia, so I have to have treatments every 8 weeks. So and I always schedule those for Fridays so I don't miss any classes. So some Fridays I won't be on the Birmingham campus because right now the new drug that they got me on is basically an all-day thing. So I go in for labs sometime around 7. The treatment starts around 7:30, and it goes until it finishes usually 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So usually I'm going all day Friday when that happens, and it's sometime later this term. But I'll let you know. All right. And that's why I have to see my doctor, the hematologist, only sees patients on Tuesday mornings. So I can't avoid missing a class on Tuesday morning. When we made the schedule, I wasn't sure if this class was going to make, but I thought the 112 class would make, so I said make it later in the morning rather than early in the morning. But both of them made, so I couldn't get around. Okay. Course description. Now, this is not something I made up or anyone here at the college made up. This was determined by a committee made out of 2-year college people and the 4-year colleges and public universities in the state of Alabama, deciding if we do this, teach this, they'll give you credit for it. Okay? So here's the course description. This course includes the study of trigonometric, also sometimes called circular functions, and inverse trigonometric functions, and includes extensive work with trigonometric identities and trigonometric equations. The course also covers vectors, complex numbers, the Morgan's theorem, and polar coordinates. Additional topics may include, meaning not, okay, usually. If we have time, I actually have had a term or two where I have introduced conic sections to the students. We've never got to sequences and matrices, but if we get there, we can do that too. But most of the time, we end somewhere in this same time frame, okay? Especially if we have to miss very many classes, okay? Now, keep in mind this when we do the student course, student learning objectives, because you'll see these concepts show up again. Prerequisites and co-requisite. Minimum prerequisite is that you pass with a C or higher in Math 112. And those of you who have been in my 112 class, I know you did that. The rest of you, hopefully you did it. Or you could have scored for 113. I've had a couple students who scored directly out of high school into 113. Actually had one that scored into calculus, but he never showed up. But he did score into calculus. But it happens, but not frequently. Okay. Textbooks. Get to the top of the page here. All right. Here is a text. It's pre-calculus, 9th edition. The author is Ron Larson. It's a Brooks. Brooks Cole Cengage is the publisher. Copyright 2014, which unfortunately means they'll probably change editions in the next year or two. Not that much has changed about trigonometry in the last few years. It's that the publisher only gets makes money on new books. They don't make money on used books. So they like to change editions as frequently as they can. Oh, am I being cynical? Sorry about that. But hardly anything changes in the book. They change colors a little bit and maybe tweak a few things here or there, maybe correct a few errors, but that's about it. But anyway, stand by. Maybe at the end of this year or shortly thereafter, you won't be able to sell your book back, possibly. All right, now it says graphing or scientific calculator. We will have one chapter, one portion of the chapter that we do a lot of graphing. You don't have to have a graphing calculator, but most of you, I assume, are probably going to go on the calculus, yay or nay, okay? You might find those useful for calculus, or you might not. It just depends on you. By the way, I do this. I put on my book orders that the graphing calculators are required, so therefore the bookstore that authorizes them to charge it to your Pell Grant if you are going that way. So if you wanted to get one from the bookstore, it should have shown up on the book order, so they should count that under Pell. So I do that so you can do it. You don't have to if you don't want to. You can live without it. Scientific calculator will do all the calculations you need. You just won't see the pretty pictures. Okay, bring paper, pencils. Now, I didn't write the syllabus. I don't mind if you use ink, but I'll make a confession. When I do math, I tend to make errors. So I like to use pencils so I can erase them rather than blob them out in ink. So it's up to you, though. Okay. Graphing paper for that portion where we are doing it, if you find that useful, which I think it is, you might want to have that. But that's up to you. Okay. Unfortunately, this new screencast-o-matic doesn't have graphing, so when I do graphing on the program, I have to tick, 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 like that, and it's not very nice. The old Integrity had graphing and other things like that, so it was really nice. This is cheap. I mean, this is a streamlined model. Okay. Something like that. All right, I do not like this next paragraph. All Austin State Community College students must be trained in Blackboard and use Blackboard daily to gain access to vital course information such as the syllabus, and you will read the syllabus every day, won't you? Saturdays and Sundays included. Yes, absolutely. I'm making fun of it here. Sorry. Bad. Okay. I think they overstated it a little bit. Blackboard is useful. It's nice. I will put the syllabus there. It's not there yet. I'm going to get it corrected first and then put it there. But it will be there whenever you want to look at it. Okay? Now, most of the time, if I have a handout for you, guess what? I'm going to hand it out to you. Okay? I'm not going to put handouts usually on Blackboard. But I've already mentioned I will put the PowerPoint shows there. Now, they're not there yet, but they'll be there under content. I will put ahead of time, as soon as I can get ahead of time, every PowerPoint that I have on my DVD, I will put that we're going to use in this course, I'll put on Blackboard. They're not there yet. I'll try to get them there as soon as I can. But not only that, that just gives you a static. You just see the PowerPoint. But remember, I use PowerPoint when I'm teaching, so therefore, you will see it again if you look at the YouTube video. But then it's not just looking at it, you'll hear me talking about it, and you'll see me writing on it and doing all that kind of stuff. So you'll see it twice. Static form under content, sort of dynamic form under the YouTube video, and the link will be through Blackboard. Okay. Activities. Sometimes the school posts some activities on Blackboard, so check it for that reason. Okay. Assignments, I don't type out assignments and put them on Blackboard somewhere on Blackboard, but I do every time we finish a section. I will make the assignments on which exercises you should do for that section. And at the end of every class, if we're not through at the end of a section, I'll tell you the ones go through this number. So they will be on Blackboard, but you have to go through Blackboard to the link to YouTube to the YouTube video. That's where you get it. It's on Blackboard, but it's sort of a roundabout way. Announcements. Again, the school makes the announcements, but I too will put them there if I know something's happening. Can I get your name, please? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Yeah. Couldn't tell for sure, but I wanted to make sure. Do you go by James? Yeah. Okay. All right. Good deal. Okay. So announcements. For instance, I've already made the announcement, and it'll be on Blackboard one of these days about that class that I'm missing and when we're going to make up the class. So those things will be usually verbal through the YouTube. But if I know something's happening that I haven't had a chance to announce in class, like a doctor's appointment changes or something like that, then I'll put that announcement out there as well. Okay? Grades. Now, hopefully some grades will start coming in fairly soon. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But usually early in the term, I get things graded, knock on wood, fairly quickly and get them on Blackboard fairly quickly as well. Okay? Once we get to registering students for summer and fall, usually I get a lot more behind. Okay? Because the last time I checked, I had about 450 students that I was listed as their advisor. Okay. Now, not all of them come by to see me, but a lot do. And then also a lot of students who don't have me listed, they come too, because if they're advisors on the best Birmingham campus and they're out here, most of the time the front desk will send people to me because I'm one of the few department chairs on this campus. There is another one now, and they're sending a few to her too, but if they're anything with science or engineering or math or anything else, they get sent to me. So once we get to registering for fall, summer and fall, I'll get sort of backed up on grading and usually catch up on Fridays. I use Fridays to get the grading caught up and put them on Blackboard then. So usually I try to get them within a day or two, sometimes it's within a week. Okay. I do not like this next sentence. Failure to use Blackboard could severely damage your ability to pass the course. Isn't that such a negative statement? Okay. If I were writing this and they don't let me change it. Now, the good news is they say that sometime this term they're going to come up with a new template, and hopefully they'll have these things updated, okay? But if they ask me, I would say the proper use of Blackboard could greatly enhance your ability to do well in the course. It's a much more positive statement, I think probably closer to reality, too. Now, this one is totally crazy. We haven't had a schedule book in years now, but they don't let us change this, okay? But if you do need help in Blackboard, they have online help, and we can get you hands-on help if you need it, okay? And I don't like the last sentence too much either. Students should always check the Blackboard announcement page prior to coming to class. Why? The only thing I can think of, and maybe there's another reason, comma, in case the instructor has canceled the class. And guess what, folks? I'm going to tell you ahead of time if I know of some reason, like my doctor's appointment, I've got to cancel. And we'll reschedule, okay? I'll reschedule sometime, even if only one or two can be here. I'll put it on screencast-o-matic so everybody can hear it. We'll make up the class. But I'm not going to miss a class if I can help it, at all. I mean, I'll come in coughing and sneezing and, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to be here if I can. If something happens like an accident on the way in from work, to work, or I get really sick overnight and stuff, I don't have a chance to put it on Blackboard. Those are the only things I can think of and then I wouldn't have a chance. So if I know of something, I'll tell you. If it's not time to tell you, I'll put the announcements there. But generally, it makes it sound like he can miss any time. Well, I guess I could, but I'm not planning to. Okay, students will be able to. Student learning outcomes. Identify trigonometric functions and relations between them using the unit circle. Remember in the description it says circular functions. That's what we're talking about. So that's one of the first things we're going to do. Then we'll identify these same trigonometric functions and use trigonometric laws using the trigonometry of right triangles. Two ways to approach trig, unit circle, right triangles. We'll do them both. Okay? Analyze by the way, these are chapter 4. Chapter 4. These two are in chapter 4. Analyze trigonometric identities. That's mostly chapter 5. Solve trigonometric equations using inverse trigonometric functions. Well, you start doing that in Chapter 3. We do some in Chapter 4. Actually, more, sorry, I keep saying it wrong. Some in 4, and we keep doing it in 5. And even some in 6, okay? Plot complex numbers using trigonometric principles and de Moivre's theorem, okay? That is strictly Chapter 6, okay? Use polar coordinates and operate with vectors. That's Chapter 6, okay? In fact, the order of these are kind of backwards. I didn't write these student learning outcomes, but they're sort of mixed up. But then I put this one there, write a library internet research paper on a topic in trigonometry. We'll talk about that a little bit later because I have a whole page, a file that we'll talk about that. Okay, how we measure these competencies? Chapter 4, and I see some books here. I know you all probably have the books because you took Math 112, right? Okay, so I don't know where your books are, but we'll use them every day. So if you have e-books, that's fine too. If you notice, Chapter 4 is a big, old, long chapter, 8 sections. So what I usually do is, after the first 4 sections, we'll have a test. And then after the next 4 sections, at the end of Chapter 8, we'll have a test. And those two are independent units from each other. Okay, of course, they build on each other, but you won't be tested on 1 through 4 materials when you do the 5 through 8 stuff. Now, all math builds on itself, so you'll use some of the stuff, but you won't be asked the same type of questions. Now, I guess we need to make a decision. Generally, in relatively small classes like this, I give the class the option of whether you have in-class test or a take-home test. Do you all have a preference? Really? My words, this is such an unusual class. Oh, wow. Ooh, okay. Well then, since you'll have take-home tests, I'm not going to give you quizzes, take-home quizzes beforehand. I mean, what's the point, So it'll just be take-home tests. So after the first 4 sections, you'll have a take-home test on Chapter 4. After the next 4 sections, you'll have a take-home test for the second half of Chapter 4. And Chapter 5, I think, is 5 sections, and Chapter 6 is 5. So that'll be a test each, okay? And there'll be a research application paper, hopefully coming in before those, okay? And then the comprehensive final exam. Comprehensive final exam, okay? Meaning it covers everything. Now, let me just fill you in. A few times we have finished Chapter 6 before the end of the term, and as soon as we finish that, I give the test for Chapter 6, take-home test. And usually it's like the next week we finish, and that's the few times we've gotten into some of those additional topics, tonic sections, and that kind of thing. I won't test you on those. I'll just give you those for you to be ready for courses coming later, okay? But then the comprehensive final exam, the last day of class, I will give you the comprehensive final. Now, what if we're still doing Chapter 6 up until that last day of class? Then I will give you basically 2 tests, a Chapter 6 test, a fairly short test, and then a fairly short comprehensive. You'll find these 2 tests are pretty extensive tests. But if at the end we don't have a lot of time, I make the test shorter, okay? So you will do a comprehensive now. Time out, okay? Even if you have A's on everything, which I hope you do, you still take the comprehensive final exam because that's a competency. That's something we use to measure what you've learned in the course. So don't ask me, do I have to take the final? I've made all A's. Yeah, okay. You should do quite well on the final then because you made all A's. So, and it'll be a relatively short, much shorter than the first 3 tests, I'll put it that way. So it's not a bad thing. All right, let's do evaluation and assessment. How will we use those? Okay, the research application paper is required. Absolutely required, not optional. It will count as a test score that can't be dropped. Okay? Then we'll have a test at the midpoint of Chapter 4 and at the end of 4, 5, and 6. It gives you 4 chapter tests, 2 for Chapter 4 and 1 for 5 and 6. The lowest chapter test score may be dropped. If it helps your average, do. In other words, if you do really poorly on the final or the research paper and you need all those, I count. I do whatever helps you the most. Okay? But the paper will be averaged with the remaining test and the comprehensive that cannot be dropped either. It's required. So the comprehensive final exam can't be dropped. The research paper can't be dropped. And the comprehensive final exam will usually count as 1 chapter test because I usually make it short, actually shorter than some of the other tests. So I count it as 1 chapter test. Quite often it comes about the same time as that last chapter test, so I really make it short. Okay. When I got those average, 90s or A's, 80s, B's, you know the deal. Don't go down here at all, okay? Don't make D's or F's. You're going to have to repeat the course if you do, okay? I love having you again, but I'd rather have you in calculus, okay? Now, it always does that at the end of the page. All right, attendance. Students are expected to attend all classes for which they are registered. Students who are unable to attend class regularly, regardless of the reason, that means whether excused absence or unexcused absence, it really doesn't matter. If you're not here, you tend not to be able to get the material. If you don't get the material, you're not going to do as well on the grades. So don't let poor attendance mess with your ability to do well in the course. You might want to consider withdrawing. Withdrawing from class can affect your federal financial aid, but now try to explain this to students. Unless you're just trying to keep a high grade point average, I wouldn't recommend withdrawing unless you look pretty certain to get a D or an F, right? Now, if you want to withdraw just because you got a C and you want to keep a 3-point, 4-point, whatever, that's up to you. But I would say if it doesn't look like you can pull out anything beyond a D or an F, I think it's a good idea to withdraw, okay? Now, it can affect federal financial aid, and here's what they mean by that. Most federal financial aid will pay for you to retake a course once. So if you say made a D, made an F, or withdrew once, take it the second time, usually they'll pay for it the second time. They won't pay for it the third time. But guess what? If you make a D or an F, you're going to have to take it again. You're going to have to pay out of pocket if it's your third time. But the D or F dropped your grade point average. The withdrawal didn't. So yeah, it could affect financial aid, but guess what? You're going to have to retake it anyway if you're staying in the program. So I'd say withdrawal, even though it can affect it, it still doesn't hurt you academically at all, whereas a D or F does. Okay? Now, if you're in a nursing program or allied health program, I don't think any of you are, but if you are, then check with those folks first. So therefore, before withdrawing, see your advisor, see your financial aid office, and talk it over. Now, there are some other considerations to make, and I usually don't bring these up because you really should know about them, but when I think about them, I do bring them up. There is some point in the term, I think it's called the 60% point or something like that, and it's on the college calendar, the academic calendar. If you withdraw before that point, some programs have to repay the money, but if you're after that point, you don't. Now, you'll have to check. That's why I check with financial aid office first. I don't know the answers to all this. I don't know what their requirements and conditions are. Check with them. That's one reason it is important. You might want to wait another week or two and withdraw then, but definitely there is some point near the end of the term. Past that point, you can't withdraw. You're going to be stuck with whatever grade you get. So be sure you're within that window. But I'll leave that to you and the financial aid office. Now, makeup work. this doesn't make a lot of sense with take-home tests, does it? Okay, but it really does in a second sense. Usually when I give you the test, I suggest that you try to finish it within a week. Now, like I said, some of these tests are pretty long and pretty extensive, and quite often I don't get them all back in a week. Get them back as soon as you can. But if you weren't here that day I gave it out, your week just got shorter. Okay, so try to get with me as soon as you can. If you're going to know you're going to miss something that you can predict, I might be able to get the test to you sooner. Okay, so you don't have that problem. Now, certainly, if something comes up like, say, you're National Guard or Army Reserve or something like that, and you've got a 2-week training, you can't control that. So let me know ahead of time. If I can get it to you before, I will. If not, then I'll give you extra time to do it. So I'm pretty flexible when it comes to this. But the reason I want you to complete things as soon as possible, I can't return anyone's work until I get them all in, or else I have to give you zeros. I don't want to do that. So if I can't return the work, then the students who did it on time can't get feedback until much later because somebody didn't get theirs in, so please get it in as soon as you can. Within a week if possible, if not, as soon as you can. Okay, lateness all classes, especially this one, we'll try to begin right on time. This time I happened to go down the hall and got caught in the hall, so I was a couple minutes late. I usually go down the hall, but usually I get back in time because I have a class right beforehand. I'll try to get started right on time. But this first week is going to be crazy. It always is. Okay, if you do miss work because of lateness or having to leave early or something, you've got to make it up. I mean, you've got to catch up on that. Screencast-O-Matic is one, or YouTube, whatever. But please try to keep up with the class for whatever reason you might have not to. Now, all of you have been here before, right? Okay, none of you are new at Lawson. Hopefully you've seen statement on discrimination and harassment on every syllabus you've ever had here, right? Okay, so I won't go into this in great detail, but I'll say this. We don't tolerate, condone, put up with. If we see it, hear it, find out about it, we deal with it quickly, fairly, but quickly, and try to keep it from happening. And I've been here, I can't remember if this is my 19th or 20th year teaching here, and we were always lost, and we were Western State Technical College for the first several of those years. But generally, I've seen very little, hardly anything. Now, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but that I've found out about or heard about, we just haven't had it happen, and the reason is we don't tolerate it. Okay, so please, if you see, sense, or even have a sneaking suspicion that someone is harassing someone else, you yourself or someone else, let us know so we can get to it. Usually that means there's some sort of underlying problem. We'll try to get the problem fixed, but we'll definitely take care of the thing. Now, the closest I can recall, and it really wasn't discrimination or harassment, it was just stupidity, I think. I hate to say this because we have a really great automotive program here, but quite often these are kids coming right out of high school. Most of you, I'm guessing, are sort of a little bit more non-traditional students. Maybe not. Some of you may be right out of high school. But, and usually, sometimes some of those guys aren't really too fired up about being in college anyway. They're not very academically inclined. And there was this one kid, he happened to be in my math class this term that it happened. I guess he got bored or something, and it was a spring day, I believe it was. He just decided between classes or maybe over lunch or something, just to walk across people's cars in the parking lot. Okay? Someone saw him. Someone yanked him right out of there. He was in the dean's office almost immediately and never seen again. No, I mean, he was out of here. Okay? Let me point it out. Will not be tolerated. Is never tolerated. Do you get the idea? Treat it fairly, but swiftly. And, I mean, take into account everything. But he was not college material, and I think he was convinced he was a college material, and he was gone, never to be seen again. Hopefully he's grown up and done well with his life, but it's not been here that I know of. Okay. I didn't even ever see him. I was told this by the students. He was out of here. Now, and by the way, if you feel like you're being harassed, maybe by some of us or something else, we'll even help you write us up. Okay, we will help you write up a complaint if necessary, or if it's about somebody else as well. All right, so let's look at Americans with Disabilities. That's a very different issue, but it has sort of the same type deal with it. Number one, it's the wall. Okay, we try to, and it's just right, you know. We try to help anyone who has a learning disability or any kind of disability. For instance, I'm hard of hearing. That's why I have to ask you to repeat your name, you know, or something. Or when I ask you a question, say, "Pardon me," you know, or whatever. I'm hard of hearing, so I'm a little sensitive to this. If you have any type of disability, let someone know. The someone is Dr. Renee Herman on this campus. I believe it's Miss. Oh, I know that's not Miss Falana Suggs. She either retired or went to a different job. Boy, I know the new name, but I can't remember it right now. I'll get that corrected, okay? Compound name office on the Birmingham campus. Dr. Herndon's here on this campus. But here's the key. We cannot assume you have a disability, because if I do, I've just discriminated against you. This actually happened. It was within the first year or two of the time I taught here. I was teaching in this classroom, and the gal sat in one of those two desks right there, one right over there, that third row. And she had been here every day, I think, and seemed to be taking notes, seemed to be following things. I thought, you know, looks like it was Math 098 class, I believe it was. But it was the first test, and she wasn't doing quite as well on the test as I was anticipating, because she had been here and seemed like she was following things. But I got to one problem, end of the first page, on the second page somewhere, and her answer was just nowhere close. It just seemed completely. I said, "What's wrong?" So, like I usually do, I went to check her work, and she had written the problem from the sheet down on her piece of paper exactly, totally backwards. Totally backwards. I mean, everything was backwards. And I went, dyslexia. But I couldn't say a word to her because I'm not a diagnostician. I couldn't discriminate and assume she was. So I went running down. She was Dr. Herman, and it was Miss Herman. I said, "I know I'm not supposed to say anything, but I don't know what to do. Tell me what to do. I want you to look at this test." Okay, I showed her stuff, and then Miss Herman, when she saw that she'd written it backwards, she would flip back and say, "Who is this student?" She said, "Oh, she is one of ours. I forgot to send you an accommodation letter." So it was taken care of. Whatever we can do to help, we try to do it. But the student responsibility to bring in the documentation. Not to me, to Dr. Herman. Then she sends us the paperwork and we do it. Now, if you feel like you're not given a fair shake, again, we'll help you write us up. You know, we'll do whatever we can to go through a grievance procedure. All right. Course calendar. The course calendar basically is the academic calendar. You can see it on the website page. It says Blackboard here, but it's actually on the web page. Okay? And I don't usually have in some classes broken down a week by week thing, but you'll see we followed the sections just as they are in the book. So therefore, the bottom line here is that once I've gotten the syllabus corrected and put it on Blackboard, I'll let you know. Then you go to this last page, see if any of the corrections are made, if you have any questions. If you don't, take this page and type your name, type the date, and email it to me, or print it off and give it to me, whatever you want to do, just to let me know that you acknowledge you've heard, seen, understood the syllabus. Okay? It's not ready yet. As soon as I get it done, which I don't know when it's going to be. Maybe not this week, maybe Friday or sometime next week. I'll try to have that done. Okay. Any questions on the syllabus? Yes. When is it due? Good question. We're going to go over it. I'll go over it now since you asked. It's due by the end of the term, meaning the last day of class, not the last day of finals, the last day of class. But, and you'll hear me say this again in just a couple minutes, I highly recommend you get it started early and get it done early. I'll go over that again. You get to choose your topic. You get to choose your sources. You write on it, and you turn it in when you're through. So I suggest do it soon. Don't put it off. And we'll go over that next. Any other questions? Great question, though. Any other questions? Okay, well then I will end the syllabus here and go to the research paper. All right. These are the general instructions. I've got just a couple corrections to make, and you'll see those pretty obviously when I get to them. All right. You get, like I said before, you choose your topic. And try to keep it within the scope of the course. Now, I'm going to give you an example. Right where you're sitting, one time, this was several years ago now, had a student, he was actually a Jeff State student, but I don't know if he just had trouble with math at Jeff State, and he decided to come here. He lived somewhere that side of us, so he drove by us every day. I guess he just decided to try his math here, and he did. And he was an okay student, you know, but he was a pre-forestry major. Don't get many of those. He's going to take forestry down at Auburn. Hopefully he has and has done well and should be professional in the field now. So that was his major. And the reason I bring him up and remembered him, that he took this course and his paper topic was the use of trigonometry in forestry. And I guess I had thought about it to some extent, but I really hadn't dwelt on it much. You know, a lot of times what foresters do is they go out and appraise a standing grove of trees. So they estimate how much board feet of lumber is in there, you know, in value and that kind of stuff. So they have to estimate the height of the tree. Now, do you think Tyler would probably take his tape to the bottom of the tree, climb the tree, and measure how tall it was, wouldn't you? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, probably not. What they use is a sextant and measure the angle. They try to get a level place away, measure the angle between the base of the tree and the top of the tree, and use trigonometry to estimate its height. He wrote a paper on how the use of trigonometry in forestry. I thought it was a great, I mean, yeah, he had some grammatical errors and stuff. Great topic because it had to do with what he was going to spend his life doing, more than likely, okay? So you get to choose your topic. You can keep it within the scope of the course. Now, you can write on a person. We've already mentioned a couple times, de Moivre, whoever he was. Sounds French to me, but he came up with a theorem that used complex numbers. We'll get to that in chapter 6, okay? All right, you could choose somebody like that. We're going to run into many others before we get to him. So you can write on a person. You can write on a theory, okay? I think we'll mention at least Kepler's theory of planetary motion. How did he come up with this? Trigonometry. He talked about the area of an arc of a sector being swept by the planet moving around the sun. Trigonometry, okay, so it can be a theory. There's many others I just thought of that one. A phenomenon that you would use trigonometry to describe or explain, as in planetary motion. That would be the same type thing. Okay, and application. Okay, we'll come back to that in a second. Or any other such topic that you have an interest that has to do with this. Now, an application, and that would be like that student did. Okay, all right. Yeah. And I'll have this up, not probably today, but later this week. You get the rest of it. Okay. All righty. Okay, sorry about that, but that does happen. That's why I record the course this week. Okay. An application of use of trigonometry in a field, okay, like forestry or some other field, okay. Or it can be an internet application or a demonstration. Now, I think I mentioned to you, I put under content some internet sources that you can use. but you can find some of your own. Maybe some I have, or maybe some that you find of your own. And if you find one, either one that I've recommended or you found it on your own, that you say, wow, why didn't he say this? Or why didn't the book say it this way? This is great. I understand what they're talking about now. You can write on that internet application or demonstration, YouTube video, something such as that you find useful in the class. Okay? So it doesn't have to be your standard research paper. It could be one on an internet application or demonstration or video or whatever. Write your name. Now, this is something you could do today or next week. Write your name on a piece of paper. Okay? That's on a whole piece of paper for just your name. I know I want you to put your paper topic too. That's just 2 lines usually. Okay? Now, take it home, think about it, or if you know right now, you can do it now. If you want to write something else from that, it has nothing to do with your research paper. Since you're going to use a whole piece of paper just for your name and a paper topic, if you want to give me your very best phone number, you can include that. I don't need it for this, but believe me, periodically, I do get phone calls, usually panic phone calls. Thus and so's in your class. Do you have any way to get in touch with them? Phone into the system isn't working. Blah, 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 blah. Someone's trying to get in touch with you, sort of an emergency, or they think it's an emergency situation. And I've been calling students all week, and yesterday and last week, when I'm canceling classes and stuff, I always like to call students first. And sometimes it's at least half the numbers are wrong, or disconnected or something. So if you want to give me your very best phone number, you can put that on the piece of paper too. It's not required, but if you want to, you can. Now, if that very best phone number happens to be a cell phone, which I'm guessing most of you it would be, but it could be you left at home that day, or the battery died, or got run over by a truck, or you misplaced it or something. If you want to give me a backup number, as in Mama's home line, your landline, or something like that, you can do that. You don't have to, if you choose to. Or some of you may actually work many of the time during the day, maybe in the afternoons or on Mondays, Wednesdays, or something like that, and the odds are you're going to be at work and not somewhere you can just use your cell number or Mama's home number. If you can receive calls at work, and that would be legitimate to do so, you can give me that number as well. I can't think of any reason I would need more than 3 numbers. But if you can think of one, you can give me any others you want to too. But you can give me no numbers, 1, 2, or 3, whatever. If you want to, you can put that on the piece of paper too. But I do need your name and your topic sometime in the next week or so. You will need to find at least 1, but 2 or more are better, outside sources for your paper. Now, like I said, the Mordway is mentioned in the book, and you might find things about him in the book, but your book can't be your source. Outside sources. That could be anything you find in the library, such as a journal, a book, a newspaper article, magazine article, any material you find in the library, or, now here's a big word, any legitimate source found on the internet. Now, unfortunately, folks, at least during my lifetime, I don't think there's been anything manufactured or created or developed that's any more amazing than the internet. Okay, it didn't exist in 1951 when I was born. Everything on the internet has happened in a fairly short period of time. An amazing construction. Okay, whatever it is, virtual construction. Okay, however, 2 problems with it. At least half of the stuff on it is totally wrong. Okay, and sometimes we don't know which half. Okay, so be very careful what you use from the internet. But if you have any doubt, run it by me. I'll say, that looks a little too suspicious, or I think that's totally wrong, or it looks good to me. So if you have something legitimate on the internet, you can use that as your source. I know in a lot of English classes, maybe you can't. I'll allow that. Okay? But the textbook for the class may be a good source for an idea, but it's not a good source for your paper. Okay? You have to find something outside the book. One of the reasons I give you the assignment, get you out of the book into the real world. At least partially that way. Your paper must be at least 1 word processed page of text. Now notice I got several things in there. I don't want a handwritten paper. I really not even like a typewritten paper. I want it word processed paper. Okay, you can make corrections a lot better with that, and it looks a lot neater. It's a professional looking. Now, what do I mean by a page of text? I'll say later you can choose whatever format you choose. And what if your format has a header at the top and several skip lines and your title and a few more skip lines, and you start typing right here? What's one page of text? That means you go to the bottom of that page, and on the second piece of paper, you come at least that far down the page. That's the page of text. I've had a few people turn it in, really broaden the margins and shorten the thing and just type a few things and say it's a page. That's not. It has to go onto the second page and come down at least that far. Okay? Now, this is single space. I want your papers double space. So you see you don't have as much to do. Double space and 12.12 pitch, whatever you want to call that font. No 26 points, so 4 words fill up a page. I'm through, you know. No, that's not going to work either. And I don't want it so tiny I can't read it. So try to shoot for that. The font you use is up to you as long as I can read it. I don't read hieroglyphics. I don't read Old English. I don't read Cyrillic, you know, and Hebrew and Greek and those kinds of things. So don't give me one of those. It might be clever, but it won't get you a good grade. The standard ones, most of the fonts are Times New Roman. This happens to be an Arial, Courier. There's tons of great fonts out there as long as I can read it. Okay? I'll determine that. Try to keep the paper less than 2 pages. Now, that's not a requirement. That's just a suggestion. I don't want you to feel like, oh, I got to do a major thesis, you know, and stuff. No. 1 to 2 pages is what I'm looking for. But some of you may get so interested in your topic. I've had people say this, you know, that really didn't want to write the paper again. Wow, there was so much there, I just couldn't stop, you know. Well, okay, that's not fine. I'll take more pages. I don't count off. You will lose points if it's too short, but there's no penalty, or at least a direct penalty, for being too long, okay? But I've also had people, they've never said this, but I've sort of suspected it. Well, if I can't, this is going to be sort of bad. It's a Navy phrase, and those are usually not too good. If I can't dazzle them with brilliance, I'll baffle them with BS. You know, so, no, I wouldn't say that. But, you know, they think, well, this might not be all that good, but you'll be impressed at how long it is. Well, no, I won't necessarily. If it's a lousy paper, and here's why I'm saying this. When you turn in the paper, I shouldn't give this away, but it is. It's a 100-point paper. And as I start reading it and finding errors and stuff, you start losing points. Okay? Too short, not sources, you know, inconsistent fonts, or, you know, whatever. You start losing misspelling, you know, whatever. You start losing points. So if you turn in a lousy paper but make it long to impress me, guess what you're doing? You're having me read more and more pages that have more and more errors on them, so you're getting more and more points taken away, you know. Not a good idea, okay? Give me good quality work, and then no matter what length it is, you're going to get a good score, okay? So don't try to baffle me. Okay. You may use any standard format. I know a lot of the English classes teach MLA, Modern Language Association. Fine with me. If that's what you're learning, that's what you're familiar with, fine. A lot of science areas use something called APA, American Psychological Association. They came up with a great format early on. People said, hey, this is pretty good. We're going to use that, you know. So if you want to go with that. I belong to 2 or 3 different professional organizations. Every one of them has their own format. You can use any format you choose. The main thing is be consistent, okay? So if you start blocking paragraphs like I did, block all your paragraphs. Don't, when you get to page 2, start indenting. Or you started off indenting, and then on page 2, you started blocking. Or you started off this, and then all of a sudden your margins changed. Or all of a sudden you went to a different font. Or all, you know, I'll say you're not being consistent here. So if you choose a format, hang with it. Now, here's another place I see this occasionally, and I think I know what's happening. Let's say someone's writing along, and then they make the first reference here. and they give the author's last name, comma, page number, or something like that. And then down here they make another reference, and they open a parentheses and put title of the paper, comma, year of publication, close parentheses. What's wrong with that picture? It's not consistent. I think I know what happened. When they chose this as a source, they made their reference according to the format that source was. But when they came down here, that source, a different source, happened to use a different format, so they copied its method of format, of referencing. Well, you're not being consistent. So choose your format, hang with your format. Don't be using whatever your source's format was. Okay, that's the big deal. Okay? Spelling, grammar, sentence structure, all those kinds of things, they'll cost you points if you make errors in them. So guess what? Just about every word processing package that I know of has spell check. It has grammar check. Okay? Use them! Okay? There's no reason not to. Okay? Except put off doing the paper until the very last day of the class. Oh, I've got to get this type, and turn it in, you know, and you don't take the time to go back and spell check or grammar check or anything else. That's why I suggest get it done early. Okay? Now, not only grammar type things, content matters. I've had people write on the Pythagorean theorem many times, and some people state it wrong. Okay? Guess what? I'll recognize that when I see it because I know the Pythagorean theorem. And most of the other things you write about, I generally will have at least a cursory knowledge of, and I'll recognize whether it's right or not. So content also matters, to be consistent. The paper is due by the last day of class, not the last day of finals, the last day of class before the final examination week begins. But please get it done sooner rather than later. I say this every time. You'll lose points if it's in after the last day of class. But not only that, I will give you bonus points. Now, these are the corrections they're going to make in this thing. Because this was done for last term. For this term, if you turn in the paper in the month of January, let's see, the end of the class, I think is May, isn't it? So April, you'll get 1 point. March, you'll get 2 points. February, you'll get 3 points. January, 4 points. I think that's how it works. Is it? Yeah. If you turn it in the month of January, you'll get 4 bonus points. Month of February, 3. Month of March, 2. If you turn it in April, you only get 1. If you turn it in May, 0. If you turn it in after the last day of class, you start losing points. Okay? So please get it in early. I'm doing carrot sticks, everything I can think of, try to do it early. And this one other thing. I've done this, like I said, this 19th or 20th year I've been teaching. I didn't start doing papers at the very beginning, but within the first 5 years. So let's say at least 15 years I've assigned it. I've taught, back when we were on quarter system, 4 quarters a year. Now that we're on semesters, 3 quarters a year. I usually have anywhere from 4 to 8 classes that I've taught. Every class I assign this to, I have on average probably 15 to 20 students per class. If you do all those multiplications, that's a lot of papers I've seen. And here's the general result. Those I get in early in the term are usually some of my best papers. And then as the term goes, it may plateau a little bit, but toward the end, I usually get some of my worst papers. Now, I've gotten some real dogs at the beginning of the term, and I've gotten some great papers at the end of the term, but the general trend is downhill. Why? Because they put it off till the end and rushed through it and didn't take time. So please get it done early rather than later. Okay? Now, here's one other thing that I require. Most English people don't. When you submit your paper, attach a single page from one of your sources. Let's say you had 3 sources. Pick a source, any of one of the sources. And then give me 1 page from that source. I don't want the whole source, a single page from the source. Don't turn that in, you're going to lose points there too, okay? If you you got it out of something from the library, take it over to the copier and copy a single page. If you got it off the internet, then on that one, print me a single page. Okay? Now, if you did one of those computer applications that you're reporting on, there's not really anything you can print off than just the citation, the address of that, the link. You know, that's what I need for that. Okay? Any questions? Good deal. We run out of time. Sorry about that. We'll do safety at the beginning of next class and then jump right into chapter 4. Good deal.